So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. I definitely appreciate your time. Today we're going to be talking about collaboration for Revit and how to connect our project teams together more efficiently. So just a little information to start things off. So this is Microdesk. We are an EECO industry consulting firm. We've been around since '94. We have 12 locations in the U.S., and we are now an official partner in the U.K. as well. We've had an office there for a little while. We're over 140 technical specialists in our consulting team. We also have a software development arm, and what that means is that our consulting specialists have a background in their industry. So we've worked in the field, we've worked on projects, we have degrees and experience. We're not just, specialists in the software, we understand the workflows as well. Now, as part of that, some of the different services that we offer, working with building information modeling, that includes training, creating content, taking content and modifying it or adding more information, like creating full as-built or for operations and maintenance, working on enterprise strategy or workflow assessments, working with mentoring and supporting companies, making sure that they have everything they need to be as successful as possible. And again, our application development team to create or to customize any tools to really meet your needs. Now, for today's presentation, it's going to be run by myself, Peter Marchese. I'm the Senior Technology Evangelist at Microdesk. What that means is that I get to play with a lot of the new tools, figure out, is it just a neat thing or is it actually useful? What are the workflows to take advantage of it? And how can we make it as effective and as efficient as possible? My background is as an architect. I did that for about 10 years before moving into the consulting side. And my focus has been a lot of the emerging technologies and focusing on BIM. And that kind of leads me into working with Collaboration for Revit, as it's a cloud-based coordination tool. Now, everyone's going to be on mute for the duration of this, but if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them into the questions or the chat window. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that throughout, and I'm also going to be answering questions at the end as well. Now, before I get rolling, though, I'd like to ask my audience a couple of questions, just to make sure I'm putting my examples into the right spot. So just a couple of quick ones. If you can let me know what your role is. Are you a designer or an engineer? Are you a project manager or a principal level? Thank you very much. Okay. And are you currently using any BIM applications? So that would be something like Revit, maybe Navisworks, something that's not just a 2D CAD. I just have a handful of people that are saying no. Hopefully this is a little bit of information gathering to help push you towards that path. Okay, and last question before we get rolling. Are you currently using any cloud or mobile tools? So if you have people who are out in the field, are they using tablets or phones to pull in drawings, specifications, fill in checklists or punch lists, anything like that? All right, so we've got a good amount of people saying yes, a large amount saying no currently. The plan too soon, that's great. So one of the aspects of C4R is BIM 360 team, and we'll go into that a little bit, and hopefully that'll give you some information on that. All right, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your input. All right, so let's get rolling. So what we're going to talk about is what Collaboration for Revit is, how it actually benefits multiple project members. And when I say that, I'm saying not just the people who are using Revit or working in the model, the actual project managers, the principals, the owners, how it can actually be used and accessed by everybody on the project, not just the typical people. Essentially what's happening now is we're having a lot more people trying to coordinate. We're not just saying the different design teams. We're also getting much more integrated with people from different locations on the country or town or world. We're also expected to show our work much more often to different parties. We don't want to just give them 2D drawings. We want them to have something that they can input in, so there's not that opportunity for data loss. I don't want to have to be doing, data entry where they send me something and I have to type it back in again. So we want to make it as smooth as possible. When we're sharing information, there's always that question of, okay, well, what do we use? Are we going to be using email or FTP or Dropbox or Box or 360? There's a lot of different options there for us to pick from. And outside of just choosing how we share our content, there's always the choice of, well, how do we actually collaborate with that content once we've determined, the first part. So part of that is determining, okay, well, what are we going to be coordinating? Is it going to be models? Is it going to be information? Are we going to be collaborating on the design, having multiple parties working in the same files? Are we going to be doing things like inspections and tying the data that we use for design actually into the data they use for construction and then into the operations and maintenance? So trying to figure out how we can connect all those different things together. And that's where Autodesk's cloud platform is coming in. So when you hear BIM 360, it's not any one tool or any one service. So there's a handful of them around here. You can see them all. The ones that we're focusing on right now is BIM 360 Team, so on the upper left-hand corner, and Collaboration for Revit. Now the reason why we're talking about both of them is Collaboration for Revit is the aspect of it that allows us to have multiple people working together regardless of where they are in Revit. BIM 360 Team can be seen as sort of the server or service that allows that to happen. And I'll get a little bit more into that in a minute. So when we're talking about C4R, or Collaboration for Revit, what we're looking at is having multiple people, regardless of where they are in the world, working in their Revit files. And they're working locally on their computer, as they always have been. The difference is that when they're connecting to their central file, they're not just connecting to one in their office. They're connecting to one out in the cloud. And that enables everybody, all the different people on the project team, to collaborate. And you can see how BIM 360 Team is sort of that outer ring that brings everyone together, regardless of what company or what discipline they're a part of. So a little bit more detail on that. So typically when we're working in our office, our central file is going to be on our office server. Now what's going to end up happening with this is that that office server ends up becoming replaced with the cloud. So that's going to be our BIM 360 Team. What happens now is that you'll have all these different firms connecting to that C4R file that is held in BIM 360 Team. So it doesn't matter which firm they're a part of or what city or even what country they're in. If they have access to high-speed internet, this will actually work for them. Now, as part of that, we realize that coordination and communication is more than just being able to save a file to a location that people can work with. And what this also does is allow for multiple people to actually communicate via instant message, via screen sharing, via screen clipping. So if I have a question, so let's say I'm working as an architect, and I notice that I see a column not where I thought it would be. So if the person on the structural team is online, and I can only see the people who are actively working in Revit, I'm not going to be able to see my friends or somebody who has nothing to do with the project in this. Only the people working on the project. I can instant message that person and ask him the question. And if he's not sure where it is that I'm talking about, as seen here, I can easily take a screenshot inside of Revit and then send that. That way we can actually communicate that way. We can make sure that we're talking about the same things. I can see what other people are doing and what file they're actively in. So if I need to ask somebody a question, and I notice he's not in, maybe the third floor model or the east wing or however we've decided to break it up, I can let him know if he can check that file for me and let me know if it's okay. If we're getting ready to print, I can make sure that everybody is done syncing so I know everything's all put in before I make a plot set. So this allows me to see a lot of the information that we used to have from the work sharing monitor. So a lot of that is actually integrated into this little communicator. Now, BIM 360 Team is a web portal, so it's a cloud service. You can use BIM 360 Team completely on its own. It doesn't have to have anything to do with Collaboration for Revit. However, if you are using Collaboration for Revit, you will be using BIM 360 Team. That's where Autodesk stores your central file from that point on forward. Now, some of the great things about this, and I'm going to actually hop in the service in a bit, is that you can upload just pretty much any file you want. If you want to treat it as a high-powered Dropbox, you can actually do that. So I can upload Word files, PDF files, video, music, Navisworks, whatever file I want to, I can put on there, and essentially I can view it. The great part about this is I can actually view all of my AEC drawings or documents. AutoCAD, Revit, Navisworks, I can upload those, I can view them, and I can actually mark them up. And I'll get into that a little bit more when I actually hop into the service. This allows me to create my organization, work with specific views from those files, do my markups and coordinate with others, and work with it from anywhere. There's a mobile app for both Android as well as iOS, so I can actually look at my content, whether it's the models or the information, from anywhere. And that includes being offline. And one of the great features that are part of this, I don't think a lot of people are aware of, is that this can also track changes. And I'll actually show you how this part works in a bit. So in terms of using BIM 360 Team, you have a large amount of capabilities. It's cloud-based, so everybody's always in the same version. You can access and view just about any file type you want to throw at it. So if you've ever used Navisworks and you know how it can read almost everything, same idea. I can upload just about any file type and I can view it in the web. So let's actually take a look and see how this really works. So hop into Revit. So working inside of a file that's up on BIM 360 Team, it's not really going to change for anybody who's working in Revit already. The biggest difference that the person that's working in it daily is that they're going to be noticing that they now have a BIM 360 Team button in their project open. So what they're going to end up doing is every day when they want to open up their project, they'll do the regular open dialog window, click on that, and then that'll load and show the specific projects that they have been invited to. So we can manage the permissions to see who can and can't see the files. Once I see that, I choose which project I want to go into, and then I choose which file I want to go into. And once I've done that, if it's my first time doing this, it will download the file from the internet. So if it's a big project, it might take a little while. Once that's been done, what's going to end up happening is it'll only be downloading the changes. So it's going to cache that file locally on my PC. And then when I open it, it'll check the web. Okay, what's changed? Perfect. Let me just download those things. So it might be a 300 meg file, but it might only be downloading 10, 15 megs a day, depending on how much is happening. And then day-to-day use, it's still Revit. Nothing changes. So me as a draftsperson or as a modeler, this is going to be the biggest thing that I notice. I have my little communicator here. So I can actually see what's going on my project. If I have any questions, I can ask other people. So I can see these are the people that are in my project but are not currently available or active. These are the people that are in the project and in the same file, actually. And I can click on them. I can ask questions. There is no spell check in that I might want to point out. And then the other person who's actually working on this will be able to see that, and they can actually respond. So they can respond back and forth. We can actually do screen captures, so I can actually take an image and say this is what I'm talking about. And if they're going to sync and I want to make sure I wait until they finish, I can come here, look at this. That person can sync, and they can put in comments. So what I'm looking at right now is the process. I can also see if they've put in any comments into that save. So that'll actually let me know, okay, this is the last sync prior to them publishing. This is the last sync prior to us uploading to the client or to accepting a different design option. So I can see all that information inside of that chain. And this can also be exported out. So that if I want to have a sort of a record of the conversations, I can do so. That won't include images though, but it will include all the comments, timestamps, and who did. So we've got a listing of the different groups, contacts, and what's happening on the project. And that's going to be it for the normal user. Now, I keep mentioning normal user because there's a few other things on this. When I look at my Manage ribbon, I am going to have, my Collaborate ribbon, I am going to have a couple of extra buttons that aren't normally there. So you're going to have your Manage Cloud Models and your Publish settings. The person on your team who typically is going to be managing sharing files with others, they're going to have a few extra things to take care of. When I send my model to the cloud, one of the things I can do is check my Publish settings. And what this is going to do is it's actually going to act a lot like my batch plot. So I can save sets. I can actually have specific views or sheets in this set, checked or unchecked. All of the views that are here that are checked mean that when I look at this on the cloud, in the web browser or on the mobile app, these are the views I'm allowing people to look at. So if I have views that are in process, I'm still working on things, I might not necessarily want others to see them just yet. I can uncheck that view. I can manage what people can see from the browser. Now, if another person opens this up from Revit, they're going to see the whole file. But I can manage what gets published from here. Now, hand in hand with that is my Manage Cloud Models. What this allows me to do is manage all of my projects that are currently online. So if I hop in through here, I can see the data set that I'm currently in. And I can actually see the name of the model, who updated it, when they updated it. And then what I can actually do if I need to is check my trash or check the history of this. But some of these have what looks like a little green check, and others have what looks like a box with an arrow. What that allows me to do is actually publish the last save to be seen online. Again, anybody who's using Revit, they're always going to be looking at the most recent save, so that way they can work with the latest data set. But if what happens is I'm looking at this from the website, I'm only able to look at the last published model, not the last saved model. So if you have people who need to review the model, they're not using Revit, they just need to look at it or see what's going on, they can look at it from the website, and they will see whatever the last published version is. But otherwise, Revit use is still Revit use. The only thing that really changes for people is where they go to find the file. It's going to be in the cloud now. If they manage the publishing or the sharing of the file, they'll have those two buttons to deal with or to work with. And otherwise, they have their little chat window to work with the rest of the team and to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Now, once this file is saved or published, we can go and take a look at this online. So what I'm looking at right now is my BIM 360 team site. So this is where I can create different projects, I can invite different people, and then I can manage who does what within that project. So on the specific project that I was just in, that's going to be my, let's see here, 2017 data set. That's going to be this one. And again, I can see my different files here, and I can see that I have version 4. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to hop back into Revit for one more second because I want to show something. When I go back in here and I look at my Manage Cloud Models, one of the things that I can actually do is look at the different files that I have. So in this case, that one, that, and let me view my versions. You'll notice that right now I'm on version 24. There's a difference here. These are all of the versions that have been saved in this file. So we're talking about the Revit file now. When I'm looking at this on the cloud, let me pull this down a second. The version that I'm looking at here is the version of the publishes. Now, when I'm working inside of Revit, I can save locally, so I'm just saving my work to my PC, and I can sync to central, and that sync to central is going to the cloud. So my central file lives on BIM 360 Team. But that sync to central is only going to be visible to people who work inside of Revit. When I publish it, that means that somebody who's a part of the project can then come in here, click on that file, And what they're looking at is not the latest saved version. They're looking at the latest published version. And then from here, I can look at the model. I have the ability to click on elements and look at their properties. I can actually create live section planes. So if I need to look through the model, I can do this. And this is all within the browser. I'm not using any plugins. I'm not using anything special. I'm just taking advantage of the tools of BIM 360 Team. And if I want to, I can look at my views. Again, all of these views are the specific views that I have chosen from that managed cloud model. I'm choosing which views I wanted to share to people who would view it from a browser. So if I wanted to go from 3D view to a floor plan, no problem. I would pick that view here. If I want to look at a specific sheet, same thing. When I'm looking at my 2D views, like floor plans or sections or sheets, I can get dimensions. Otherwise, what I can do is get markups and look at my comments. So if I'm looking at my different comments, I can see which version of the file it was done with. I can see who wrote that. When I click on it, it'll actually take me to that specific markup or comment. So this allows me to move around the project. Then I can click on different things that would take me to different links, whether it's to a different view, a different floor plan. That allows me to navigate through my project in different ways. And again, I can just come through here and then go back to my main view. Now, probably one of the most powerful tools here is the ability to check what changes, especially if you are a project manager or somebody who's not necessarily working in Revit all the time, but needs to know what's happening with your team. I can do this on my own files, or I can do this with the files I receive from others. Just go to version, compare version, and I'll choose which version I want to compare, and what view do I want to see that comparison in. And then I'll say compare. And then it'll think for a second or two, and once it's done setting up my view, everything that hasn't changed will be translucent gray. If it's new, it'll be green. If it was removed, it'll be red. And if it was modified, it's going to be yellow. Now, the cool thing about this is that this is doing it all on its own. I'm not having to put in any input. I can take that result and actually export that out to a text file that I can then view or put into Excel. I can sort or filter this to only show me specific kinds of things or to focus on specific disciplines. And one of the nicest is that when I talk about modification, it's not just a physical modification. If somebody modified the properties or the data in that element, I can actually see that and focus on that. So if I'm not so much worried about objects moving, I'm really waiting on people to publish information into the model from maybe the as-built or from specs. I can focus on that modification type, and it can show me that. And if what happens is I'm looking at my model, and I can see that it moved, I say, well, that's nice to know, but where did it move from and then to? I can actually click on this, and I'll watch it animate that little bit of a distance that it changed it. So it's trying to help you understand how it changed, so that way you can determine, okay, is everything correct now, or where are things? So you get your BIM 360 team site. All your central files are going to be up here. I can link to other Revit files that are in the cloud. I can also link locally, but they're not going to be available to people who can't actually access that location. So setting up the project takes a little bit longer the first time, but again, once everything is all dialed in, you have access to it and it's all set up. And one of the things I'll mention is that if people are curious about Team, you can sign up for a trial. I'll show you that in a minute. But we also have an introduction site. So if anybody's curious, you can reach out at the end. We can invite you to this, and we have some getting started with, some success stories. We have a little wiki feature up here, so it has some frequently asked questions and other information. So if anyone's curious about this, just definitely let us know, and we'll get you invited. So in terms of getting access, you've got BIM 360 Team and Collaboration for Revit. Now, in terms of access, whenever you purchase Collaboration for Revit, that comes with a seat of Team. So you don't have to buy, extras of just that for that. If you have people who will not be using Revit, but you do want them to have access to the Team site, they would only need a seat of Team. So, anybody have any questions, please pop them into the questions route. I know I have a handful in there now. I'm going to see what I haven't hit. Okay, so one of the questions here is, what are the minimum internet requirements for C4R to be effectively used? Autodesk hasn't published anything specific, like numbers-wise, that I've seen. But the main thing is that you do have high-speed internet. Now, I know I've actually used this with my phone while I'm on the train before. It's not something I would recommend for long-term, but it does actually work. But if you have high-speed internet, it should be good enough. And what we've seen is some clients who have multiple offices, their speeds going out to the internet tend to be faster than going through their intranet. So even though they might have offices that are connected, sometimes just going straight out to the internet is actually faster for them. Another one was regarding, another question, save as local, publishes to the cloud. So when you're saving in Revit, similar to the old way, that if you have a work shared file, you have the ability to save your local copy wherever it is, and then you can also synchronize your work to the central model. That model hasn't changed, or sorry, that workflow hasn't changed. What has changed is the location of your central file is going to be on BIM 360 Team. So me as a worker inside of Revit, I can save local, I can sync to central, and I can publish. The publish is really for people who are only using the website or the mobile app to view the model. So if all you do is you work inside of Revit, all you need to worry about is the saving locally and syncing to central. Yep. Question here is the central file only in the cloud? If you are using a project that is in Collaboration for Revit, yes, your central file lives in the cloud. You do have full access to download and archive those at any point in time. So if you want to have snapshots in time locally saved and backed up in your office, that's not a problem. But your central file will live in the cloud if you're using C4R. Yes. Another question here for the comparison feature. Does the system allow to point out the changes in internal data? Yes. So that was one of those things when you're looking at the modification type, you can choose to say, show me the physical modification, like we actually moved it around or changed how that beam was connected, or show me the modification of properties. So that would be the data, like you've actually modified the weight or the load that you've put in on that. So, let's see here. The question here is regarding the security. Security is handled by your Autodesk login. So you can actually set up a two-factor on that if you want to. There is a specific Autodesk website for the health of their web services to keep track of, are they up, are they down, or is there a service coming? There's also a specific security site that explains some of the, I don't want to say requirements, but some of the certifications that they're going for. But everything is encrypted. I believe it's to 256. And you can manage that. In terms of the risks, the main problem that you would have is more people using the same password on everything. That's most of the problems that are out there are not necessarily a large site gets hacked. It's something smaller or esoteric, and then everybody uses the exact same password, and then everything that that password is used on is now, or that email is assigned to, is under risk. There is paperwork, though, regarding that, or the security that they use. So the question here is regarding the seats. Are BIM 360 Team seats assigned to specific people, or are they floating network seats? Those are assigned to specific people. So one of the things you might have noticed is when I was inside of Revit, I'm actually logged in as myself in the upper right-hand corner. So that Autodesk login means that my account has specific access rights. So I've been granted an entitlement to Collaboration for Revit, and I've been invited to that specific project on BIM 360 Team. So that's how I can tell what I can and can't do and what projects I can and can't see. So that C4R sort of seat is assigned to me. However, if I leave this project and somebody else has to get put on it, they can take that seat away from me and then give it to somebody else. So it's not floating in the way that most people think of network licensing is, like a first come, first serve, but it can be reassigned to specific people. Next question here is, does Autodesk have rights to use cloud files without owner's permission? The answer to that is no. They are very specific about saying they do not own your work. You own your work. You're using their service, but they can't do anything with it without your explicit permission. Next question is there a maximum time that files will be retained in the cloud? As long as you have a subscription. So if you are paying for a subscription and then you let that lapse, there is a grace period, but I believe it's something like 90 or 180 days after your subscription has ended that it will be terminated. But as long as you have space in the cloud and you are consistent, they're not going to remove anything for you. And that kind of ties into the next thing. Two people asking about storage size. So for every user of BIM 360 Team, so not just C4R, again, if you have a C4R, you come with Team. So let's say you have 4 people working on a project. Each person that you've assigned will have 500 gigs of space. And that's not a per person, that's sort of pooled. So if you as a company, you know you have 4 people that are going to need to use Collaboration for Revit. So you buy 4 seats. You now have 2 terabytes of space that you can use. So I haven't run into anyone yet who has run out of space. It's very generous with that. It doesn't count the space from backup files or from the versions that it tracks. So you then tend to have a lot of space that you can work with. All right. Great questions, everybody. Thank you very much. Now, if anybody has any further questions or they want to learn about a few other things, we do have 2 more, our next 2 webinars are coming up. On December 5th, we're going to be talking about the top 3 technologies that are going to, we feel are going to impact AEC next year. So those 3 tend to be virtual reality, IoT, and connected BIM. Each year, more and more tech comes and goes, and these 3 are not necessarily new, but the price to get into it has come down quite a lot. The technology has gotten better, and it's easier for people to start implementing. So we're going to be going over how we expect them to really jump forward now. The next one's going to be on December 12th. That's going to be on daylighting. So for everybody here, especially if they use Revit, but if you've ever had to do any lighting analysis, what's going to happen is I believe Clark is going to be going over how to leverage the Insight service with your Revit models to simulate and calculate different daylighting metrics.